In our previous class, we were looking at the serial data transmissions, where we saw that the bits are transmitted one bit at a time over the single transmission mediums. We also saw that the in serial data transmissions, the data or the bits, when it is transferred from the sender to the receiver, it reaches the receiver in order, so there is no synchronization issues. So hence they are usually used when the data or the data has to be transmitted over the longer distance. We also saw that the serial data transmission is one of the most reliable data transmission method, since the receiver will receive the data or bits in order as it is sent by the sender. However, we also saw that the serial data transmissions has a limitation of the throughput of data, which affects the speed of the transmissions. And then also the serial data transmissions are usually implemented when the data transferred is in a small amount. Okay, so for today's class, let us look at the parallel data transmissions. So in parallel data transmissions, multiple bits are transmitted across the transmission lines. So with parallel data transmissions, when the sender sends the bits or the data into bits to the receiver, the bits are sent multiple bits, not a single bit, unlike in serial data transmission. Here, the multiple bits are transmitted over multiple transmission lines. So with multiple transmission lines or multiple wire, when it is implemented in the parallel data transmission, it becomes expensive compared to the serial data transmissions. However, it also improves the overall throughput of the data, because multiple bits can be transmitted over the multiple lines. So multiple bits or more bits can be transmitted at a time. So the transfer of the data will be much more faster in terms of parallel data transmissions. So thereby it increases or improves the speed of the transmission. The transmission will be much more faster compared to the serial data transmission, which has to transmit the bits one bit at a time. However, when the data or bits are transferred over a longer distance in terms of parallel data transmissions, the bits may may not be in order when the receiver receives the bits. The sender might send the correct order, send data in correct order, but the receiver may receive some bits faster than the other bits. So thereby it causes the error in synchronization. So this is one problem in case of parallel data transmissions. Another one is, since multiple wires are used in parallel data transmissions, so wires are close to each other. So when the wires are close to each other, they can interfere with the neighboring wires. So the wire produces the electromagnetic interference, which can affect the signal of other wire. This is another problem of parallel data transmission. The wire can crosstalk with each other, thereby interfering the signals of each other's. So these parallel data transmissions, they are usually used or implemented in integrated circuit in your PC, and also the computer with the parallel port can be connected to the printer or scanner, which implements the parallel data transmissions. So when the data is transmitted from the computer to the scanner or the printer, it uses parallel data transmission. So multiple bits are transmitted simultaneously to the sender, and also it is implemented when the data has it is not transport. The data need not to be travel over a longer distance. If the distance is short, then parallel data transmission is more effective, unlike the serial data transmissions. So in parallel data transmission, if the distance is short, multiple or more bits can be transferred, thereby making the transmission much faster. The transmission speed will be much faster compared to the serial data transmission. However, if the data needs to be transferred over the longer distance, then serial data transmission is more effective, since there is less problem compared to the parallel data transmissions. Now let us look at the other technique, that is baseband transmission and broadband transmissions. So in case of baseband transmissions, digital signaling is used to send the data over a single transmission medium using the entire bandwidth of that medium. So in baseband transmission, the digital signal is used. It is placed on the transmission medium or transmission line, single transmission line, without change in modulation or without modulating the data. So when this signal is placed over the transmission medium, only one signal is transferred at a time over this single transmission line or transmission medium. So this signal, the signal is, when it is transmitted over the transmission medium, it uses the entire bandwidth while transferring the signals. So entire bandwidth is occupied by this signal when it is transferred from the sender to the receiver. Thereby, the sender can either receive or send the signal at a time. So there cannot be simultaneously sending or receiving of the signal in case of baseband transmission. So because of this, digital signals are sometimes also called as baseband signals. So this baseband transmission, it uses low frequency waves. So when these low frequency waves are used over a longer distance, when these low frequency waves are transmitted over the longer distance, we already saw that it deteriorates. The signal over the longer distance deteriorates. Therefore, baseband transmission is effective when the signal has to be transmitted over a shorter distance. So baseband transmissions technique are usually implemented in Ethernet, the local area network. Now let us look at the broadband transmissions. So in broadband transmissions, analog signaling is used to send data over a transmission medium using a portion of the bandwidth of that medium. So we already saw that in baseband transmission, digital signal were placed on the transmission medium. So in case of broadband transmission, analog signals are placed on the transmission medium, which is modulated. The analog data are modulated with the higher frequency waves and then converted into signals and then transferred over the transmission mediums. So unlike in baseband transmissions, where the entire bandwidth was occupied during transmissions. So in case of broadband transmissions, a portion of the bandwidth was used for transferring the data, so which enabled multiple or number of signals to be transmitted across the transmission medium. So different data can be transmitted side by side. So the sender and the receiver can simultaneously send as well as receive the data or signals during the transmission process. So this broadband transmission uses high frequency waves to transmit the information or the data. So we already saw that higher frequency wave can or enables the data to be transferred over a longer distance. So therefore, the broadband transmission is effective when the data needs to be transferred over a longer distance. And also, the broadband transmission technique enables large amount of data, such as voice data or video data, to be transmitted. So these broadband transmission techniques are implemented in television transmission and also radio transmissions. So broadband transmissions enables the data, the large amount of data, to be transmitted over longer distance. So these are some of the advantages of broadband transmissions. Okay, thank you everyone.